Mallam go dúr facad an bille seo a chur fihráid an tí. Tá ar an de seo áil leis an bille seo chur fihráid an tí agus cad a lorug na ní ailtrú. Bille cuimse catán agus credim féin ghfuil tadbh mór a baint leis. I'm delighted to get this opportunity to introduce this bill before the House. It is a very comprehensive bill with 30 sections in it and has been 4 years in gestation. I'd like to thank my colleagues on the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Social Protection, Rural and Community Development and the Islands for their interest in this bill, and the staff of OPLA, the Office of Parliamentary Legal Advisers, for all the work that they have done. I'd also like to thank the person who came to me first and made what is a very interesting suggestion to me. The Irish banks first opened in the late 18th century, and since then the banks have held deposit boxes. It is believed that these boxes, many of which are unclaimed, could hold items of historical interest. In the event of no owner being identified, the bill proposes that those of historical interest should be transferred to the National Museum of Ireland, and they might pass them on to other appropriate agencies such as the National Gallery or the National Library and so on, while any cash not claimed should be lodged in the Dormant Accounts Fund. Now, the specific provisions of the bill are broken into 4 parts, but the purposes are to create a register of property deposits in banks. The second one is to identify the safekeeping property deposits where the records are sufficient to identify a living or beneficial owner, starting with the oldest deposits first. And there are all sorts of provisions there to publish and look for owners where they're not readily identifiable. Third one is to examine all property where the owners are not identified and to notify the director of the National Museum of any unclaimed property, who will then examine the property and decide whether it should be retained by it or by certain other bodies and put on display. The bill also provides for the transfer of unclaimed funds to the Dormant Accounts Fund. I'd like to stress that the idea is that all safe deposits will be recorded in chronological order back to the beginning of the banks in the late 18th century, and no safe deposit box held by a bank for less than 80 years will be opened. When you consider that the average age of a person putting a deposit, well, the youngest age is likely to be 20, it wouldn't happen until they were over 100 years of age. The bill is broken into 4 parts, if you just give me a little indulgence, John Corley. The first deals with preliminary and general. This includes the purposes of the bill, the short title, the interpretation section, expenses and regulations and offences under the bill. The second part provides for registration, notification and examination of historical property deposits. The third part provides for the retention by the state of unclaimed property. The fourth part provides for notification of other persons for the performance of statutory functions. The fifth part provides for the disposal of unclaimed property and the transfer of unclaimed monies, and the sixth provides for miscellaneous matters. Míle buchas ceann cóir agus tá sam go me har an nám ach tá go leor sa mille seo mar dearm tá tríocha alt difriúil ann.